Blue screen's looking nice as well.
Oh, thank you, Drake. Yeah, we're live now. Apologies for the delay. I was figuring out all of my technical equipment again in the office, which every week seems to happen, or every time we do these things. Anyway, it's the SCMP MMA post-fight podcast. I'm Nick, and that's Drake, and that's John. As usual, terrible trio back in the house. Good to see you guys. Drake, what's going on?
Not much, buddy. Just preparing, getting very busy week ahead of another busy week, I'm sure. Because we're officially, you guys, will be on the ground next week for UFC 259, live and in person. Man of the people, if you want me to ask anything to whoever, let me know. I'll do my best to do that. And we will find out about the Singapore situation. I will make that my duty, as we got mentioned a while back. But yeah, right now just finishing some February interview work and whatnot. Thank you, John. I see the slow golf clap there. um, so yeah, just finishing up the month really and getting ready to go do some in person work again.
What about you, JHK, Mr. Bellator ranking panelist, John
Nothing
Hiltner?
changes, man. Nothing changes. The grind continues. It doesn't matter if you got a big interview, a small interview, a big feature, a little feature, man. It doesn't matter. It's the same. The grind is the same. We just continue going, and the attitude is, just moving forward. That's all it is. I don't have nothing special to announce. Like, okay, I guess I'm part of the Bellator panel, but I still have to learn more about that myself, and then as we go along, as the rankings come out, I'll talk more about it. But right now, I'm not fully educated, so if I speak on it, half of it will be just bullshit nonsense, and I don't want to do that. That's not the professional thing to do. So we'll wait until those rankings come out, and I'll talk more deep about it. But yeah, I'm excited about the Bellator rankings. I know a lot of people didn't want to get involved. They're probably asked. They just declined. I felt like it's an opportunity for me to kind of spread my wings a little bit more and get involved in something that they're trying to do the right way compared to other promotions. And we'll see what happens. But other than that, man, nothing else. Just trying to get the bigger interview than anybody else, than everybody else. You know what I mean? But it's hard to
Always.
keep up. It's hard to keep up.
All right, everyone, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And also go and download Fanatics Fantasy MMA app. Get fanatics.app or go to the App Store or go to the link in the description right below this video. Plenty of topics, though, we're going to talk about today, not involving Fanatics. We're going to talk about, I don't know, where are we going to start, boys? I asked you what we should talk about. There are a few things we threw around, no major stories. But I think the biggest topic, maybe the biggest talking point right now, is Herb Dean, the fallout from that fight. We talked a little bit about it on the show on Sunday for me, Saturday night for you in America, Drake. But I think it's kicked on a little bit. Some of the outlets picked up some of the comments that Derek Lewis said, saying that it was Herb Dean's fault, not his. And I think Big John McCarthy has ridden to Herb Dean's rescue a little bit. But yeah, we'll start with you, Drake. Whose fault is this? Is it Herb Dean or is it Derek Lewis throwing those extra punches when Curtis Blades was clearly stiff as a board and unconscious?
Well, I feel like we went pretty deep into this on the recap show, but yeah, I think it's a little bit of both because well, I would say more so Derek because Curtis Blades was very obviously out and he did not need to throw those additional shots. But then the argument there is, well, you keep fighting until you're told to stop or what have you, which I'm pretty sure is what Derek said. Correct me if I'm wrong. Then the problem with Herb is that he just didn't get there quick enough. He was too far away to be able to prevent those shots from happening. But ideally, that's what you want. And I think, did Big John say this? But you don't want to notice the referee in fights, right? Like if he's getting in the way, that's a problem. You really ideally never want to have to do too much as a referee because then the fight's all going fine, everything's clean and cozy, all that kind of stuff. But in this case, I would say it was more on Derek because this was a case where those shots just absolutely were not needed. He didn't need to do that. Of course, you do fight till you're told to stop, but also, man, you could tell, you could see that the guy was out. So I feel like in this case, as much as I am very open to expressing my feelings on how I feel about Herb these days, as you can go back and see on the recap show. Derek, I think, is wrong in this one.
Well, let me just bring up this article. It's on MMAfighting.com. This is what I was talking about. John McCarthy on Derek Lewis's punches on an unconscious Curtis Blade. That's what happens sometimes. Do you think we can agree with that, John? Is that a fair enough statement? Is Herb Dean the bad guy in all this, or is it just this is a thing that happens in fighting? Sometimes a couple of those shots are going to get through before you get there, especially in the heavyweight division.
I'm gonna have to completely disagree with Drake on this one, because I think Drake's been eating those magic mushrooms in the Northwest, because they're famous for that up there, and he's off his rocker a little bit. I think like Derek Lewis, him throwing those shots after he knocked out Curtis Blades, I think there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like in the heat of the moment as a fighter, we don't know, because we haven't been in those moments, where there's so much money on the line. Like there's rankings, there's title shots, there's all kinds of stuff on the line for especially Derek Lewis and Curtis Blades, to where you have to fight until someone is ripping you off the other guy. And I feel like Derek Lewis did that. He did that to a T. As a professional fighter, that's what you need to do. You need to go in there. It's not your job to stop the fight, because we see it all the time too, where a guy like knocks someone down, and he looks like he's rocked, and the other guy just stands there and like raises his hand. The fight is not over, right? He should be going in there to finish the fight. He shouldn't think that he's the guy that's responsible for stopping the fight, right? It's the ref's responsibility. The referee should jump in there. Was Herb Dean late? Yes, but also I believe if you watch the replay, he was all the way on the other side of the cage. And that was kind of a weird thing too. That's one thing that's weird about refereeing sometimes when you watch it. Some guys are really in there in the action, and some refs are really far away. Some of them sometimes they're all the way on the other side of the cage or the ring. Whatever their approach, man, whatever works for you. Every referee is different. But if you're gonna be on the other side of the cage, you better be ready to sprint across that cage to stop the fight, especially with heavyweights. And Herb Dean, he's had a lot of questionable moments in the last year, 2 years, maybe 3 years. And I think it all kind of stems from the Robbie Lawler Ben Askren fight. I feel like that was kind of like the turning point for Herb Dean, where he started to really question a lot of his like calls or decision making inside the cage. And I'm just hoping that Herb gets over it, because Herb is one of the best referees that we've ever seen. He's been in the cage as the third man for some of the biggest fights in the history of the sport. And sometimes people forget about that, and they just think about what happened in the last fight. Herb Dean needs to take a responsibility, but at the same time, we need to give him another chance. I think that he should maybe work on the prelims a little bit more and not give him these main event slots until he kind of gets back into his groove again. What do you guys think? Am I wrong about that?
Before you go, let me just read
100%
some of
right.
the comments from everyone, and then I'll throw it to you, Drake, just because everyone is weighing in. It's a hot topic, isn't it? James Kendick asked the question, do you think Herb Dean is going to be like Mario Yamasaki? Yeah, we talked a little bit about that on the recap. I'm sure we can say something quickly again, but La Peter lied saying it's nobody's fault. Derek Lewis is doing his damn job. This guy also yelling, it's no one's fault. Stupid topic. Sorry, DUBC _209. We got to talk about it though. James saying it was not as bad as Masvidal's super necessary extra shots on Askren, since Herb didn't really have an angle. More from Lapido Light saying Derek Lewis is not a referee. MMA is fighting. MMA is not hopscotch or basketball. Why are you taking Big John out of context? Go listen to his podcast. I don't know if we did. I hope we didn't. I showed the whole article there, and I think we gave what John was trying to say. Hopefully, if we did not, I apologize. Please tell us. Anyway, Herb Dean, yeah, you can look in the comments, guys. Everyone's angry about this, but Drake, what were you going to say? I did interrupt you.
Oh no, I agree with what John was saying, and I go back even farther than 3-4 years. I think this is been going on too. I made the example to Nick about UFC 194, and if you remember Weidman Rockhold, that fight, and how the third round and that final minute where Rockhold was in mount, dropping ground and pound for an entire minute, a full minute of very solid shots that could have stopped the fight, probably, at the 40-second mark. Like, it went on for far too long. And then we saw the fourth round, Weidman was pretty much out on his feet, just autopilot, and, ended up getting beat up even more. So Herb has fallen off significantly in the midpoint of the 2010s, I would say. At a point, he was one of the best ever, right? And he's just not anymore, I don't think. And he's been very consistently bad over a longer period of time than, let's say, the Mario Yamasakis or the Steve Mazzagatis, the guys who are banned. Those two guys are banned from doing work in the UFC as referees because of the very bad mistakes that they've made. But I argue that the length of their screw-ups and severity, the severity was worse in smaller increments. But Herb has been really kind of stretching this out, and I think it's because of this narrative that Joe Rogan, for one example, continues to push about how he's the gold standard, but he's not anymore. We got to be realistic and look at these examples that we are seeing more and more of about how he's lost it, man. He should not be doing main events as frequently as he is, especially if he's going to continue. I like what you're saying about, bump him down to the prelims at least, but you got to recognize these kind of things, and we need some accountability, not just with referees, but judges. And, I mentioned that to Nick when we were talking about it, but if Dana can ban these guys who are enforced by, they're put in there from the athletic commissions, if he can ban them from their events, why does he not have say on, let's say, the judges? Like Chris Lee, I'm throwing that name out there because he's been horrible recently as well. Why can't he not ban him from UFC events? And why wouldn't you when Dana's openly not happy with that either? Why can't he have some say in having Herb at least not be main events? Maybe don't ban him just yet, but man, you don't want to take work away from anybody, but you don't want to fuck up the results of these fights, or, cause some kind of talking. We just shouldn't have to be talking about this, right? If he's doing his job properly, we shouldn't be talking about it.
Well, these referees, they've been refereeing for how long? And they know a lot of the officials in Nevada, in California. They're probably friends with a lot of them. And it's, when you have friends and you're in control of their fate, it's hard to like take them out of a certain position. And I think that could play a factor. I'm not for sure. I'm just, spitballing here. But yeah, I think that there should be some kind of reprimand, I think, for making mistakes. And we don't see it with the referees, really. We don't see it with the judges at all. And it's just to excel, to elevate the sport, to elevate, MMA, we need to fix that, right? We need to fix a lot of things. This just doesn't stem with the late stoppages. Someone in the comments was mentioning about the Rodriguez Ribas stoppage. That was like a couple weeks ago, and that was a weird one too, where he almost jumped in too early. You know what I mean? Like, and then he should have jumped in anyways, right? And then he jumped in the second time. It's just, man. Well,
then even in McGregor Poirier in the main event later that night, he screwed up the start of the fight. He screwed up how it started. Like, how does that happen?
It's a trip. Like, right now, there's no crowd, so I feel like the moment is not as magnifying compared to, like, let's say you're in the MGM or the T-Mobile where there's like thousands and thousands of people. It's the main event. There's a title on the line. Conor McGregor walks out. People are going nuts. You're the referee. I feel like there's more pressure in those moments, right? And then right now they're fighting in the apex with just the commentators, the judges, and the corners and the officials, and the mistakes are still happening. So I don't know if it must be just all psychological, right, for Herb Dean, and maybe he needs to take a break. I don't know, man. I don't want to be too harsh on Herb Dean because he's a human being, and people are like, oh, maybe we should have robots as referees, but I mean, that would never work out. So I remember I saw someone saying like we should have robots in there, like we shouldn't have a person, we should have like
in baseball.
Yeah, come on. But where's also like the instant replay, you never see that being used ever,
right?
I thought that was going to be implemented, right? And all these things, man, that come up and then they just like kind of get brushed under the rug. And I think the mistakes that Herb Dean has made has been brushed under the rug too many times now, to the point where people are actually angry about, you know, him reffing. And I've talked to a lot of fighters, and a lot of fighters, they don't want to call out the referees because eventually that referee might come in and officiate their fight. So it's like, it's hard to go and bash a certain referee or referees in general, because it can impact or affect the outcome of your fight. Imagine like you know, said, and you know, some fighters have come out and like attacked referees, but it's a tricky situation for a fighter. For us, we could say whatever we want because, you know, we're not going to be in there, you know, fighting somebody and getting paid for it. But yeah, the amount of money that is up for grabs, and the positioning in the division, and the impact, and the brain damage and all kinds of stuff that's going on, man, I think Herb Dean should like kind of step back a little bit. Do you think he will? Because we still got that guy Tognoni or whatever. Tognoni.
He's not good either.
Yeah, he's been really bad since the start of us just watching him referee, right? He started during the pandemic, or maybe he started before that. We never noticed.
Yeah, he's gone back a little bit, but no, he had the worst showing of this last event. You remember the Vandera fight, the kick the night off? That was a horrible stoppage. That was the worst moment of the night. And I agree with Lapito Light that this isn't even that bad, especially for her comparison, you know, for his history track record. But yeah, Tognoni been very, very bad, especially during the pandemic. I don't remember him ever being as bad as he has been now, but to kick off the night in that Spivak fight, that was atrocious. That was some terrible stuff from him. That fight should have been stopped way sooner. So yeah,
you know,
good shout.
When you look back at the McGregor Aldo fight, McGregor clips him, pretty much knocks him out with one punch, right? He's on the ground, and McGregor goes down and hammer fists him like two or three times, right? And then John McCarthy jumps in. Was that a late stoppage? Because in a way, that's kind of a similar transaction right there between fighters, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know, man. We're never going to get the right answer, right? Because there won't be any changes. Once the changes start happening, then we'll start to be, you know, better at understanding.
The Chatry comment killed me.
Sorry. What? Which one?
The Chatry one. Chatry's in the chat.
Unacceptable. Chatry's here. Bombed. Okay.
Oh, that's amazing.
Tan says it's an early stoppage is way better than a late stoppage. Yeah, look, guys, I think we could talk about this topic all day. Again, we spent about an hour on it on Sunday, so maybe we'll move on unless you have anything burning you want to add and finish on about this topic.
James Kendrick, spot on there. That is one of the worst ever. Holloway, Murtazalayev. Good shout.
I don't even remember that fight. Like
awful. That one makes me mad just thinking about it, dude. That one's
connected to this. You know, Derek Lewis's opponent, Curtis Blades, he gets knocked out, and he gets a crank call from some random guy, you know, and I was like, man, the internet has made people just insanely brave in some of their actions, man. It's just like it boggles my mind. Why would you spend your day or take any time out of your day to just do that to somebody, a guy that if you meet him, you have no chance? Like if it was like 1500s, that guy would rip your head off your body. Like that's the guy that's in the battlefield, like chopping dudes' heads off with like one swipe of the sword, right? Right? Am I lying? That's no, Curtis Blades, right? Like we would be the one like brushing his teeth for him, you know? Like, you know, like we would be the slaves, we would be the squires and the peasant, right? Like, and these guys like now they just become brave and do things like that. I feel like that is just a disgrace, man. And man, I don't feel bad for Curtis Blades, because Curtis Blades, he's very strong, right? Like this guy, he's been through a lot, and he's fighting the most scariest dudes in the world, and he is one of the most scariest dudes in the world. But the fan, or you can't even call him a fan, because if you're a fan, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't prank call a fighter after he got knocked out like devastatingly and make fun of the situation. I feel like people should go find him, and I see like people trying to expose him, right? It's some guy, I don't even know who he is.
No.
Just some random guy. I feel like people are trying to expose him online, but this is not going to last. Already people forgot about it. This is like 1 day later, 2 days later, people don't care anymore. They're talking about the Stanford or no, Ohio University guy getting beat up, football player getting beat up by some dude that trained MMA for 10 years in the bathroom. And that's being viewed like, I think it's like 10 million views or something now. It's insane.
Wow, I haven't watched it.
Oh, you haven't?
I thought about doing it on the show today and talking about it, but there's so much swearing in the video that I don't think we can even show it. Well, yeah, but then it's essentially violence, so I might get demonetized by YouTube. So
don't need that.
We can definitely talk about it if you want, but it was kind of funny. Yeah, that guy seemed like an idiot. What was his name? Spencer Jones, I think. And now he's suing this kid, I think.
And he's on the team?
Yeah, I think so. And he's suing this guy, saying it was an unprovoked attack. And this guy who knows the MMA, he set up a what do you call it? A GoFundMe or something for his legal defense. So
what?
Not a good look if you've just had the shit beaten out of you by someone you were bullying, and then you then sue him, right?
I think he was gouging his eye, like when they were on the ground.
Oh, wow.
And I think the football player, he had eye surgery and he's recovering in the hospital because he had some damage to his eye. But like, you shouldn't go out there and pick in fights. You know, you think you're a big, tough football player. Yeah, you are. You could probably beat up most of the people in the world, but man, you run into the wrong guy, he's going to choke you unconscious and beat your head in with his foot. Right? That's just the reality, man. Don't be nice. Be nice to people. Don't go in the bathroom and try to fight people in a club or whatever, wherever they were, man. It's like, and he's a football player. He's a guy that's in the public eye too. So imagine like going back to football practice. Imagine seeing your teammates and they have this video. I would be playing that video on the big screen at the stadium. Like, dude, look, this is you. Look at you. Like it's ridiculous. And I hope that the court does the right thing and doesn't allow this dude to sue the other guy, because it seemed like they're gonna fight each other no matter what. You know what I mean? Attack or no attack, dude was like, you could tell like tensions were high in the bathroom. It's weird how everything's in the bathroom. Like, what are they, like in high school or middle school? I think middle school was the only time I've ever seen people, you know, like, meet me in the bathroom. Let's fight. Come on.
I'm just gonna show it anyway, and
yeah, just turn the sound on.
I haven't seen it.
You see, like right there already, the dude pushes him. The other guy is poking his putting his finger in his face. Look at that. Like, he did the right thing. You know what I mean? Like, you get too close, you try to protect yourself, right? And then look at it. He got the back mount. He's gonna flatten him out right here.
I bet he regretted that instantly.
Oh, definitely. Especially you're like,
this guy's the best. The one who just walks out of the cubicle and
and he had his drink in his hand. Like, someone, I forgot who said on Twitter, like the worst part of this video is the dude took his drink into the bathroom.
Yeah, that is disgusting.
And then what about
outside? Someone might.
Yeah, what about the dude right there? Like, is that the dude that's supposed to be? Who's who? Like, it gets confusing at the end because there's like two groups of people fighting. So I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like, I could see this happening to like what's his name? Chase Hooper. I can see this happening to Chase Hooper. Like, Chase Hooper is like this nice guy. He just looks like a guy that's there to just have some fun. And there's this big football player trying to be a tough guy. And then Chase Hooper has to beat his ass in the bathroom in front of everybody.
Right.
It's like, and then his buddies over there trying to fight just so he doesn't like get clowned on.
There's those dudes pissing right there.
Yeah. Imagine how dirty that floor is too.
Oh, this video is
There's
incredible.
all kinds of, you guys been to the club, man. Even outside it's just sticky on the ground. Like, you don't even want to put your hand on the ground, and they're in the bathroom like exposing themselves. Man,
this video has Corona written all over it.
Exactly. They should have a warning.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, it's I don't know, man. The internet is weird, right? The internet is just, people want to just film everything now. It's man, it's just
Oh,
like
yeah.
put the
Cameraman
phone
could tell
down.
shit was about to go down.
Exactly. Or maybe he was just instigating it. We just can't hear it.
Right.
Because
Yeah, I don't want to
there's a
play
lot
the
of
audio.
instigators out there, right? Especially the ones that want to film something. They're the
Mhm.
ones in the back like, ooh, like those guys.
The hype man.
Yeah. He's the instigator. I've had friends like that before, like growing up, where they're like they can't fight, but they'll instigate the
Right.
whole thing. Like they
Get
don't
him,
care.
John.
Yeah, they'll instigate the whole thing. Just push for that violence. But yeah, it's sad, man. It's sad to see it. But hey, you step to somebody, get too close, and you're being aggressive. A guy that's trained, he's gonna fight back, man. It's not gonna like he's just gonna
Mhm.
get into the fetal position in the bathroom and suck in his thumb like Jim Carrey in what is it, Pet Detective. So so hopefully
Ace
he learned his
Ventura.
lesson. I hope he learned his lesson.
All right, well, why don't we cover a couple other topics? Someone mentioned in the comments,
That
I'm
was
trying to
fun.
find it now, that Brandon Vera has flown over. Here it is, Ong. What's up? Brandon Vera is apparently going to train with Online Sanford MMA. See his latest Instagram post. So I have found that post, and there it is. I don't know if that's confirming it, but Ongla has said, "See you soon" there, and Brandon has said he's flying to Florida. I think he's training. This means he's gonna obviously fight Arj Singh Bular, I think on one of those April TNT cards, maybe. But that's a bit strange, isn't it? Or is it cool? I don't know. Former opponents. Obviously, Brandon came down to challenge Ong for his light heavyweight belt. John in Tokyo. Ong defended the belt. Opponents turned foes turned friends. I mean, they never were really enemies, were they? They were very respectful and cordial. But is that strange to you to see this happen if they are training together in Florida?
No, sir. No, sir. That's not strange at all. I feel like they were going to train no matter what. I felt like they have pretty good chemistry, man. We've seen him fight, so we know that they'll put all that friendship and that friendliness to the side and bang it out. But man, I think that this is a good move for Brandon Vera. A very good move. Because the reason why I say that is because right now, one championship is just bringing in monster after monster after monster. This is not the heavyweight division we saw like 2-3 years ago. This is a brand spanking new heavyweight with all kinds of dangers, all kinds of landmines and explosions and IEDs and just insane, man. Like once the promotion starts reeling off more shows and having heavyweights come in and fight, Brandon Vera is going to start noticing that his dominance in the division is not going to be the same as it was a few years back. He's going to have to really claw his way, not his way, but claw and fight to defend his belt. It's not going to be no easy road, man. There's some giants coming in and I love it, man. Rung, man, I think that he should get the title shot. I'm going to push for that no matter what. But but other than that, man, I think Brandon Vera going down to Sanford, and a lot of even Roy McDonald's down to Sanford now too, because of Canada's just so restrictive that he went down to Sanford to train out there for the PFL tournament. It's great, man. I can't wait to see the new and revamped version of Brandon Vera with Henry Hoof as his head coach and Greg Jones and Akami as his grappling coaches. And he's going to be working with like Gilbert Burns and so many guys, right? Just it's insane. It's just a long list. I could just sit here and list the names, but there's no reason to. But yeah, I think it's great, and I love it. I love Brandon Vera doing that, trying to get a rebirth, man. Rebirth.
Yeah, Roberto Lopez says it's a master move because Brandon trains in Guam normally, right? And I think maybe with Trevin Jones is in the same gym. I'm not sure, but maybe the situation there means he cannot prepare adequately for a fight of this magnitude. But as Ong mentioned in the comments here, Amir Ali Akbari is fighting soon. I think he's going to fight on Friday, but it will be broadcast in a few weeks on one of those Fists of Fury cards, one of the dark cards that's not going out live on Friday. So we'll see. I think, Amir is already pushing for Brandon. He's trying to poke him on Instagram and try and get that title fight immediately. been calling him out, been a little bit of trash talking. So yeah, interesting. I'll try and get an interview with Brandon. Maybe we can clear all this up. James is saying Brandon trains in the Philippines.
That's what
Do you
I
know,
thought.
John?
He does. He does. He
Okay.
trains back
He
and
lives in
forth.
Guam. Okay.
He lives in Guam. He trains in Guam. He trains in the Philippines. He was part of Alliance for a long time. I still think he's a part of Alliance, but that's what's interesting too. Is like he's part of Alliance, but he's not going back to Alliance to train in San Diego. Rather, he's going to Sanford MMA. Maybe it's because of the bodies. He doesn't have the heavyweights that he needs, and that's why he's going to Sanford MMA. The big bodies out there. Yeah. So if you interview him, I would like to know that. You know what I mean? Like I would like to know why he didn't just go back to Alliance in California.
Yeah. We'll find out. I've just put an interview request in. I'm sure we can get him. For Drake, here's a question for you. Can you ask if there are any other venues that were considered besides Singapore? So yeah, put that one in the old notebook
I
when you
took a screenshot there. Thank you,
Okay.
James.
You're way ahead of me. I like it.
Yep, good follow up.
Okay. Well, yeah, one championship back on Friday. We're gonna have a what do we call them? Fight companion, and we'll do a preview tomorrow. Preview the card. So yeah, we'll be talking all things one. Victoria Lee obviously makes her debut. The sister of Angela and Christian. Just spoke to Angela Lee a couple hours ago. Got that interview. Will be dropping later today. Really good stuff from her. Enjoyed the chat. Great to catch up with her. Some interesting things. But why don't we talk about another thing I wanted to discuss? The PFL has announced their matchups for lightweight. I'll just bring this tweet up here. Hang on. Yeah. You guys talk while I get the tweet. Anyway, I think, yeah, it's Anthony Pettis v. Clay Collard, right?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
All right. How does that stack up for Anthony Showtime Pettis? He's the big acquisition, isn't he, for PFL this summer? Interesting fight for his debut, or what do you think?
What do you
I
think,
was a
Drake?
little. Yeah, when I saw this, when I woke up and read my email and everything, I was like, "Oh, Clay Collard. Okay, that's a favorable one for Pettis. I would assume kind of a similar feel to his last fight against Alex Morono, I would say. And I know Clay Collard has been doing some boxing recently and doing pretty well, right? I think he's like 9-2 or something, and still competing in MMA. Obviously, I don't know how recently his MMA fights have been. It's funny that I'm actually more aware of what he's been doing in boxing than in MMA lately. But yeah, Clay Collard, of course, was never like a top guy or anything. Of course, enjoyed some time in the UFC and did okay at best. Of course, didn't stick around. That's why I went to boxing and whatnot. Yeah, I think you have to favor Pettis in this one. Doesn't get me super duper excited, but hey, never know. I like everything about the tournament for PFL this season and year and all that stuff. But yeah, this matchup didn't excite me for Pettis initially. I'll be much more excited for some other possible fighters he could take on.
Yeah.
I think this is a
think they
good
could have gone
matchup
with-
for Pettis.
Well, did you want to see Pettis v. Nathan Schultz out of the gate, or do you think wise to hold off on that?
They wouldn't do that. Like, I don't think that they want any of like the big free agent signees to come in and fight one of their main guys, right? Or the champion. I think Nathan is the champion. He was the champion, right? He won last year. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
two-time
sure.
Yeah,
champ.
right. Yeah, he's returned 3-time.
2, I think.
2-time, $2 million, man. And actually, I got an interview lined up with Nathan tomorrow, so I'll be talking to him, and also I'll
Ask
be
him for
talking
some
to.
money.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask him for some money. We need a
some
sponsor.
cash.
We need a
Yeah.
sponsor for the post fight podcast,
Yeah,
and get
cool.
Nathan for every fight he can sponsor us. That's like reverse sponsor, like when he fights, he sponsors us.
Yeah.
And we promote him. Yeah, and also yeah, I'm my coverage of PFL is gonna be turned up a lot more this year, covering this season. I just did a interview with returning welterweight champion Ray Cooper. You could go watch that, and he has some kind words for Rory McDonald, the new big free agent signee. And then I got Nathan tomorrow, and then on Friday I have Kayla Harrison lined up talking to her. She's also returning champion. So my goal was to not goal, but my what do you call it? My agenda was to just like try to interview all the champions that are returning first, and then I'll get to the other fighters as the season moves along. But yeah, so look out for all of that on this page on SCMP MMA YouTube /MMA YouTube /SCMP MMA. I don't know. People always do that. I don't know why, but I just decided. But anyways, when you look at the
Lupito Light's calling
matchups,
me out in the comments. No, I
who?
like elbows. I do like elbows. You got me on
Yeah,
that
yeah,
one.
yeah. I didn't even know that they didn't have elbows until Anthony Pettis did an interview with Nick. I thought they did have elbows, but a lot of promotions don't have elbows because of the
It's the
cuts.
tournament format in this
Yeah,
case. Yeah.
yeah. So when you look at the matchups, the matchup that interests me the most right now, there's a few, and it's always the new guys coming in and facing the more established guys in the promotion. So of course Anthony Pettis fighting Clay Collard, that's an interesting matchup because Clay, like you said, he's been very successful at boxing, and one thing about Anthony Pettis, he's a guy that likes to strike. So maybe we're gonna see Anthony Pettis go in there and try to fight like a boxing, right? Like a boxing style against Clay Collard, and of course Anthony Pettis is more diverse, but Clay Collard could pull off a Dustin Poirier and just box off Pettis's head. We don't know yet, but that's interesting to me. Marcin Held, man, that guy, he's just a guy that's just submissions, right? That's all we think about Marcin Held. So can he go in there and submit Natan? I gotta learn how to say his name right before I actually interview him. But let's Natan, right? So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, Lance Palmer and Bubba Jenkins. I don't think people are talking about this matchup. This matchup is going to be fun to watch because both guys wrestlers. Both guys have lots of experience, and Lance Palmer is, I think he's 3-time champion for featherweight, and now he's going to go for the 4th one in a row, and that's going to be fun to watch to see who can dethrone Lance Palmer, or is Lance Palmer just going to run the table and win another $1 million? And what's good about this too is guys that are competing on this, they're getting paid for each fight, and then when they win the tournament, they get another $1 million, added to that, which is always good. And I feel like this is a good option, man. I love that PFL is around. What is that? That's the April 23rd, right? So
Yes,
is that
sir.
that's a Friday. Okay, so they might be going head to head with Bellator. Does Bellator have a show on the 23rd?
They should. I think they have them every week in April.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's not good.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, because now you got to make
What
a
about
choice.
your boy, the Korean Falcon?
Yeah, and he's taking on Tyler Diamond, a guy I think he's out of Team Alpha Male. We've seen him a bunch of times on the Ultimate Fighter. I think Contender Series. Was he on the Contender Series? I believe he was on there. Cho Sung Bin, he's the guy that fought once in the UFC, lots of hype, and then just laid a goose egg in his debut, and then the UFC cut him, which was a very odd sequence of events. But now he's in the PFL, and we're gonna get to see what he's made of, man. Especially against Diamond. Diamond, I think stylistically, Diamond will go in as the favorite against Joe. But Joe, he's a spectacular finisher, so we'll see what happens. And he switched teams. He's over there with Team Stun Gun. Stun Gun from the UFC welterweight. He has a gym. He has a team. He has some coaches there. And Joe, he joined that team, and he's been training there for the last year and a half, I believe. And I think that set up everything for the PFL. So we'll see what happens. It's gonna be fun. Chris Edwards Bailey telling us that Bellator has shows on the 2nd, 9th, and 16th. So this does not conflict with Bellator. Thank God.
Cool.
Thank you, Chris, for being our human Google search bar there.
You're our Jamie. Chris is our Jamie now.
Yeah. Look that up, Chris.
Chris Jamie.
We need Chris back on the show. Hopefully he's going to be with me tomorrow to do the One Championship preview. Schedules permitting, it'd be good to see Chris again on SCMP MMA. Yeah, looking forward to this. Roberto says it's a good card. I agree, Roberto. Peter Light says Nathan Schultz is a beast. Top 10 if he's in the UFC. What do you think, guys?
Lance Palmer too. There's a bunch of guys that could compete at the top 15 in the UFC. Natan, Lance Palmer,
Johnny
Man,
Cage shouldn't have been let go from the UFC.
yeah,
first of all.
that's definitely true. That's definitely
And bold
true.
prediction: if he stays healthy, I think he's going to win it this year.
Yeah, I think that his time, like fighting for Ryzen, it's gonna help him more than anything. And he did pretty well, right, in his first run with the PFL. He
Oh,
just had a unfortunate event.
he didn't lose. He went to a draw
Yeah,
with Schulte, and
yeah.
then in Ryzen, he's only lost to Tofik since leaving the UFC, and he's finishing all of his fights that he's won. And I heard this in an interview he did like yesterday or whatever, but before the Tofik fight, who of course Tofik by himself is no easy task whatsoever, but he said
Mm.
that 2 weeks out in training from that fight, he was sparring and like got a bloody nose or whatever, but it was like kind of pink rather than red, and he went to the doctor and said that it was like brain fluid or whatever. And he had this crazy situation where he probably should not have taken the fight and was like half concussed or whatever. It was kind of crazy to hear that. And so
Oh,
he's like, not making excuses, but I did like have some brain fluid fall out of my face ahead of this fight. I was like, Jesus, man, that's pretty intense stuff right there. So
not good.
he probably wouldn't have won either way. I think Tofik's a monster, but yeah, that's not good, right? So
That
was
is not
interesting.
good. No. Well, look, yeah, PFL. I can't wait to see that. April's going to be fun, guys. You got
Oh
that.
yeah,
Got some of those Bellator shows
madness.
Chris mentioned. We got those one championship on TNT cards. I'm looking forward to some great fights there. And what's the UFC paper? Is that Stipe Francis? No, that March.
Um,
April is going to be Young Wei Lee, right? Yeah. Okay.
hopefully, hopefully,
Yeah.
fingers crossed.
Well, we don't know. Yeah.
All
Anyway,
right.
April should be good. Can't wait. Okay. Any other talking points? Let me get this back up. I think I was just watching before we came on air. Max Holloway has just been on Ariel's show today, and he said something pretty interesting. Was he thinks he's going to finish his career at lightweight or welterweight, and the UFC is apparently asking him, when are you going to commit to moving up? So, what do you think, guys? Should Max move up now or wait, or what? What's the time frame here?
Drake, what do you
One of
think?
you.
Um, um, it's it's very it's tricky. It depends. I think that it comes down to this next title fight. If Volkanovski wins, then he should go up. If Ortega wins, well, absolutely, he doesn't need to. He's getting a title fight, especially after that win he just had. Like they're gonna waste no time whatsoever. That title fight rematch against Ortega sells itself, especially if Ortega can beat the guy who beat Holloway twice, and like that's just too easy. You do not do that. So it really hinges on what happens in that one. I think if Volkanovski wins, which is very possible, then yeah, Holloway, it's gonna take much longer, because Volkanovski doesn't want to fight him again, doesn't feel like he needs to. Already beat him twice, all that, understandable. So if that happens, yeah, why not make the move earlier rather than later? Save yourself some terrible weight cutting. Nobody likes that. So yeah, and especially with lightweight being potentially wide open. I know Habib still isn't officially vacated the belt, but it's pretty much, from everything he's been saying, the belt is up in the air now. So jump in there, Holloway. I see no reason not to if Volkanovski remains champion come, UFC 260 or whatever day that one falls on.
I wish that if he was gonna, I wish that he would make a decision like sooner rather than later, and not just wait for the outcome of a fight that's coming up. If he's gonna decide to move to lightweight, if that's in his mind and he's set on that, then he should do what John Jones is doing: get his body prepared for the division.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if he prepared his body for the division when he went into that Dustin Poirier fight, I feel like that Dustin Poirier fight would have been a lot different with Max being actually a lightweight, not a featherweight, fighting in a lightweight fight. So if he does make the move, I would like to see him take some time, build some muscle, because Max is not like a muscular dude, right? And I'm not saying that he should be like a muscular dude, but I feel like he should put on a little bit more size just to battle against, or battle with other lightweights, the top tier. Because if he does go to lightweight, he's going to be a top tier lightweight. He's going to be in the top 10, the top 5. And if he does it right, he could also become the champ. Who knows? Especially with Habib out the way. I think Khabib, he's out of the way. You know, we're not going to see him probably anytime soon. So, yeah, with him out the way, it's wide open, man. Even like the Max Holloway McGregor rematch could be something that he could move up, to lightweight and do. I think that would be a good fight. I feel like that would be a great fight to put together next. Not even wait for it. Like, Max, you want to fight a lightweight? Let's put you in there with Connor. You know, Connor. They could promote Connor as having a victory over Max into the leading, instead of like, oh, you lost your last fight, you got knocked out. They rather promote Connor winning the fight against his opponent, and then they're trying to get revenge. But if that happens, I still feel like Max will beat Connor. I don't know why, but then Connor has lost every rematch that he's ever had, except for Nate Diaz. But yeah. Anyways, yeah. So if Holloway decides to move, I think that he should decide real soon and kind of make the same approach as John Jones and take the job a little bit different, and and find this path like that and get bigger. Bigger is probably better. That's what all the ladies say.
I had to tell Drake off on Sunday
I know.
he made me play that. Who was it? He was singing
Chaz Kelly.
Chaz Kelly, yeah. We are a PC podcast. We got to clean up our act, guys. This is a family company. No more of this double entendres, all that. Anyway,
we're being censored by Nick.
Yeah, I have to censor. I'm the moderator here, you know.
Right.
Yeah, you're the host.
I'm the host with the most roast. What was that on The Simpsons?
Well, if you have a roast, I'm definitely coming over for dinner.
I always have a roast. Yeah, I'll see you there as soon as we can do this. Anyway, what about Michael Chandler, Black History Month?
Boy.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched this on Sunday, and my immediate thought was that's a bit strange. Didn't think it would blow up the way it has on Twitter, but then I really probably should have realized, because at best it was ill-advised, at worst it was pretty tasteless, wasn't it, guys? In a way, it was about a really good thing what Michael Chandler's done, but why would you do a package on him adopting a child who is black, but then that's not really got anything to do with Black History Month, has it? I think that's the argument a lot of people are saying, when they had two guys in the main event who are black, and they have so many black fighters and African American fighters they could have profiled. Yeah. Was this a bad play? Is it just a little bit of stupidity, or what?
Yes, and yes. Like, who does the UFC have working to put these packages together? I don't understand. You know, Michael Chandler, all respect to him and what he's done, but he would be one of the last people, that you would pick to represent something as significant as Black History Month. And man, it is so weird that they did that. It's almost like they're trolling everybody in some way, and they wanted everybody to talk about it and get all riled up, because it doesn't make any sense. Imagine like you're in control, or your position is to create that. When would Michael Chandler enter your brain to feature on Black History? That doesn't make any sense, right? A lot of people, they, like you said, the main event had two successful black African Americans, blacks, right, in the main event. Events before this, there have been many African American black athletes that have been successful. Why wouldn't you focus on some of their stories? Because you had them right there during Fight Week. You could have recorded everything, ahead of time. I didn't watch the whole thing, but who else did they have on there? Was it just Michael Chandler?
Well, they've been doing some packages on all the shows, so this wasn't the only one they've done. I think they have done others that have been more appropriate and looking at actual things that have something to do with Black History Month. I think that's right, Jake. I can't remember off the top of my head who they have profiled and looked at, but there have been some others. This was just an isolated thing. It wasn't like the only thing they've done, right?
Yeah, they did. I don't know if it was. It had to be UFC 258, right? They did the look at Jim Brown as the commentator for UFC 1 alongside Bill Superfoot Wallace or whatever. And then they fast forwarded to DC, when he made his commentary debut at UFC Portland, actually, in 2016. That's all they've done so far, though, I think. And so they just looked at the commentary aspect of things and then did this one. I could be wrong. I could have missed something, but I know that they did that one either the week before or 2 weeks ago. At some point this month, obviously.
Usman, like his
There you
story.
go.
If you
There
know
you
anything
go.
about if you know anything about Usman and his family and like his family and how they came up and became, and Usman how he became who he is now, that's a great story right there. I don't understand why they don't play something about that. Maybe they do have something in the works. I don't know, but it's just weird, man. Like everything's weird this week. Like you got that guy getting beat up in the bathroom, right? Losing his eye. And then you got this guy prank calling Curtis Blades after he gets knocked out. And then you got that one guy, Travis Fulton. He's doing child pornography, which is despicable, man. Like that dude needs to get his beep, right? I'm not going to say anything because the censors are out there. He's right there with the yellow background.
Yes,
But
keep it
this
clean.
week has been just weird, man. Like just overall, just some of the things that are happening, and none of it is actually inside the cage. It's just stuff that has happened outside, and it has some kind of connection to the sport. I don't know, man. It's just, to be honest with you, like we're not black, we're not African American, so we can never really get across what it is to grow up in America, what kind of struggles there are. I could only give you my experience as someone that's Asian that grew up in America, but I'm not going to get into it now. We're talking about Michael Chandler representing Black History Month. And I felt like it's just, at the end of the day, it was ill-advised. And I feel like their heart was there. It's just, it wasn't the proper thing to do.
Agreed. Yes, I put some comments from Chris on the screen. I think they were very well worded. And yeah, I mean, give you guys... Here's some comments here. Yeah, well, we've covered it. I mean, do you have anything else to add, or shall we move on to another topic?
It wasn't history, first
Yeah.
of all, right? That's kind of take away the main points of it, which we've touched on, and how focusing on Michael Chandler, which, if we want to be real, they just kind of want to keep him in our memory, right? He's still the shiny new toy, as we were told here on SCMP again in some interviews. But yeah, it's a silly thing, all things considered, and how it really isn't a historical thing, and there's so many other amazing options you could have went with for something like this. I think they just, for some reason, felt this was a good time to utilize a way to shine some light on Michael Chandler, who is still the new guy in town. Don't forget about him and his great performance, which let's also say that Chandler's not in the wrong here whatsoever for doing this. It wasn't his idea, I'm sure, to do this, but because I have seen some people saying, how could Chandler be a part of this or whatever, but it wasn't his call for it to go
That's
out,
something that you could ask next week when you go down there to 259. You could ask Aljamain Sterling, you could ask Israel Adesanya what their thoughts are on that situation. You know what I mean? I think that their point of view,
I'm sure that'll come up no
important.
matter what.
Yeah, and ask Dana White if you can. You know what I mean? Maybe people will forget it by then. You know how the world works.
Yep,
3 days later, you forgot about what happened 5 days ago, right? So it could be that. So I just just something to keep in mind. Something to jot down in that little notebook. You know what I mean? Like we could get into, but we're all yeah, man. Just
this one.
Oh damn. He had it all handy right there. But anyways, yeah, I think that if you guys want to hear the perspective of somebody in the MMA media and they're Black, African American, you'd go over to the Body Log where Drake does a lot of shows over there, and you got Matthew Wells and Anthony Walker. That's who the two guys.
Yeah,
I believe they have
it perfectly.
Yeah, they have a video on that. You guys should go check that out. And I think we should just move on because we have no position to talk about that unless we're working for the UFC, but that we don't, or ESPN.
Yeah. Is it just cynical to think they wanted to promote Michael Chandler
Oh,
And
that if that is what they wanted to do, it's like what what kind of delusional mindset do you have? Like,
It
you
wouldn't be
know
out of character
people.
for them, though.
Yeah, but you know people online in the world on social media, they're gonna go nuts if you do anything that has anything to do with race, and it's like a little misstep. People are gonna attack it, man. That's right now. It's like open season for anything, right? So maybe maybe I don't know. Maybe it's like if they did, man, that I'm baffled. Like if you're sitting in a conference room talking about, okay, we're gonna put Michael Chandler in a feature about Black History Month because he adopted a black child. It's like, what? Like I don't know. I don't know how to. I would react to that if I was in the meeting room and they brought that up. I'd be like, you guys got to be crazy, like legit crazy. Like let's get a black person in here. Let's get an African American person in there and ask them. Like if we put Michael Chandler in a video featuring him about adopting and has nothing to do with Black history, like Drake said, nothing to do about Black history. There's no Black history there, right? At all. Okay. If Michael Chandler's like grandmother was black and she did something for the civil rights movement, that's a different story, right? But there's nothing there. So, man, it's I'm baffled, man. I'm just continuing and babbling right now because I'm baffled. But yeah.
I mean, as Tan says, it's a beautiful thing. No need for the outrage. Are we overreacting to this, or is it fair to be kind of annoyed at the way they did it, and the reasoning seems a little baffling to me. Yeah, but or is it an overreaction? That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is there's nothing wrong with Chandler adopting, the child. Like this is, yeah, that's an incredible thing. He should be commended for doing that, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's the problem is using this story as your way to be like, yes, we're celebrating the Black History Month with this. Like that's the part where it's wrong. Not the fact that he's done this, that's great and all. But it's just choosing that situation as your thing to feature is just a fairly tone deaf. And, you could celebrate that in a much different way. It was just the wrong choice, really. Like, so there's nothing wrong with him doing that, but it's just them utilizing that story for this situation is the part that's messed up.
Yeah. There's no like nowadays overreacting is like just reacting. So
yeah, that's
anything that happens, it could be like someone saving a dolphin from a shark attack, and someone would be overreacting about that, like how the shark is the victim in that situation, right? It's just the world has become that, and it's hard to kind of comment too deeply into this because, like I said, I'm not black, I'm not African American, so I have no idea what they go through, and I don't know too much about the history, right? So, I get educated every February from Black History Month about certain things, but other than that, I'm baffled. We're probably all baffled. UFC, do better.
The funny thing is, though, like just final comment, like this wasn't a hard thing to miss on, but they missed. They missed big time. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it seems an easy thing not to mess up. So I think, the criticism for me is fair. I don't want to bash them too much, but I think they missed the mark a little bit there, or by a long way. Chris brings this up. Someone actually mentioned it in the comments earlier. So yeah, I forgot about it. I did want to talk about it. What did you guys think of One Championship calling in Credit Suisse and Goldman Sachs IPO versus SPAC? I hope I got that acronym right. I saw this story. It was in the Straits Times. Looks a little bit planted, but fair play. Everyone does that. I'll bring it up on screen here.
Yeah,
it seems to be a reaction to the UFC announcing that TikTok deal and all that stuff. And can anyone who knows anything about money and finance break this down for me, please? Because Chris will tell you I'm terrible with my personal finances, not just that, but also anything to do with talking about money. So Drake, John, do any of you know how these things work?
I have no idea what is SPAC. Should we just read through the article to just find out? Like this is the first I've heard of this.
Okay.
Yeah, same.
Let me. Maybe
But I
Chris
can
can
point you
put it in
back to the
comment.
body lock for Pat O'J and his business podcast. I'm sure he talked about this already. If not, he will.
Okay,
It's the
well, look,
spot to be.
One Championship considering options including seeking a listing in the United States via a merger with a special purpose acquisition company. That's at SPAC, according to people familiar with the matter. They've picked Credit Suisse, Group AG, and Goldman Sachs to help prepare for the potential listing, said the sources. The rival to UFC, that's generous, has held preliminary discussions with several SPACs, they said, asking not to be identified because the deliberations are not public. The company, whose valuation is more than US 1 billion, again, I don't know whether that's real, could also raise capital via other routes, including an initial public offering, IPO, or seeking funds privately. Yeah, upshot of this, I don't know what any of that means. Can anyone break it down? Here's Chris in the comments. Was originally reported in Bloomberg. Very good journalist. He says this is Chris's wheelhouse. He knows all about the financial world. He is an accountant. Will go public via sealing warrants in effect to, I don't know what that means. There you go. Will go public via sealing warrants in effect to Liberty Media. The fact is, Goldman and Credit Suisse have confirmed they are looking at it. They will only consider if it is serious. So, seems like something about them going on the stock exchange.
But does it really mean anything though? It's like XFC, right? They're in the US. They're a promotion. They're on the stock exchange already. But does that mean that they're any bigger or better than they were before they were on the stock exchange? I don't even know. I have no idea. I don't think so. I don't see what is the big deal about them becoming basically making them a public company, right? If you're on the stock exchange, you're a public company, correct?
I
Or
believe
am I
so.
wrong? Yeah. So you see, like we're talking about stuff that we don't even know about. Like, well, most of the stuff we're talking about we don't know about, but still, this is really far left field for me myself, especially. But yeah, like I don't know. It's like talking about pay-per-view numbers. This is to me, it's like talking about pay-per-view numbers. It's like, do I really care? No. Do I want to project anything? No. Do I want to predict anything? No. Because really, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to any of us what the pay-per-view numbers are, and we're never going to find out the real reason or the real numbers because they're private, right? So you won championship doing this. Maybe it's to get more money. And if they are allowed, if they can get more investors, then good for them. I know the PFL just got another $65 million or something from investors, and I heard that I read it in an article that they're going to invest a lot of that into new talent. So that's gonna be fun. Imagine like them throwing like boatloads of cash to like a John Jones or somebody, you know what I mean? Like eventually that could possibly happen. Who knows? But yeah, so I read those things and I see these things, but I have really maybe 25% understanding of it, and my interest level is at like 90%. Not interested. 90%.
So your interest is at 10.
Yeah.
Maybe this helps. Tan says the SPAC is like an IPO. It's a way for the investor to get some money since one has been losing more and more money every year. Chris says they'd be able to raise huge amounts of money, and being listed would require and allow far more scrutiny over their accounts and numbers. Looking at Liberty Media, owner of Atlanta Braves, Sirius XM, and Formula One.
Well, in that case, this sounds like a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it plays out. It pans out.
Yeah,
Those numbers and reports were not sounding good for one whatsoever. And those are from the most recent were from 2019 losses. And they were quite large. So
it's a shift in strategy, I think, because from what I was told, they have been looking to just find an outright buyer, to take everything. So this seems slightly different, but the bottom line is, yeah, I think they realize they need to make money differently because you can't just keep doing what they're doing. They are losing money, as that Bloody Elbow article pointed out, a lot of money. The financial model has to change. If the long-term survival of the company is to be ensured, I think that's clear. Would you agree, John?
Yes and no. That's all I have to say. Yes and no.
That is not an answer.
Yes. Well, I'm gonna relay it over to Drake.
Well, I mean, yeah, especially in the current climate, right? Something should probably change in this crazy, unique time that we're in, as it's not helping too much of anything. But yeah, I guess that's all I'll leave it at. They need to work on things, no matter what.
They do. James saying there's one lie about the numbers, like Luke Thomas claims. I don't know which numbers. Yes, a lot of the numbers are. I don't know. I don't believe them, but they may point you to some thing. Like I think they count, online views as like a viewer. They'll say we had 30 million viewers of the show. They'll include someone who watched like 30 seconds of it online in China, and maybe there's a million of those. I don't know. The 2.7 billion fans thing is clearly just misleading and incorrect.
Well, like the way that they say it, right? The way that they say it, it says it like possibly potential. That's the key word, potential.
Right.
Once you put that word potential in there, we could be anything. I'm potentially a woman next week, right? Like that.
True.
It opens the doors up to so many like possibilities, right? Like the word potential. So they're doing it like as a promotion, as an organization to advertise yourself. It's a good way to do it, right? Because a lot of people, they don't catch that word potential. They just hear like, oh, billion viewers. Like a regular person watching the promotion, they probably believe everything that they put out, and that's I think what all of this is for. It's not for us. It's for the regular viewers, the viewers that are like not watching the sport that closely, that are not reading all the articles. Those people read like, oh, we have these many viewers, we have this is our numbers. Those people believe it because they see it in print. A lot of times nowadays, even before, people, once they see it in print, they believe it's 100% true, right? So we don't know if it's 100% true. And even with the UFC, we don't know if a lot of stuff is 100% true from what the UFC releases, right? So it's not just one championship. A lot of people focus on one championship because they're more bold about it, right? They're more out there in the free world about it. But every promotion has some kind of level of JHK confirmed for the one atomweight Grand Prix. Why am I confirmed for the one atomweight Grand Prix?
Potentially a woman next week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I get it now.
I think you'd be too big though. For that.
I'd be
Yeah,
too big for that. I'd have to
shed
lose
some
about 40 kilos right there. But I think I can make that by the time they actually have the Grand Prix, I could probably lose that weight.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, no update on that.
No update.
Great
right?
comment, though.
Dylan Bowker. Dylan Bowker, I've seen his articles before. Where does he work?
I know he does stuff with me at my MMA News, so shout out to him, sir.
Okay. Shout out to Dylan, man. I know that you come on here from time to time, and we see you, and I've seen some of your articles, man. Good work out there, and keep up the good work, Dylan. We'll always be supporting you, just like you support us by watching and commenting.
Yeah, agreed with that sentiment. Thank you, Dylan. My 2 cents on it is one championship's whole thing is to present themselves as the biggest thing since sliced bread, as I said before, to attract a rich buyer. And I think if, from my limited understanding of what this SPAC stuff is on the IPO, this might be a really good thing in the way that if they can secure some long-term reliable funding, maybe they'll stop doing all this bullshit with the pretending they are the biggest thing in the world. Because I love watching the fights. I love the fighters. I love interviewing them. But I really hate all the crap that they spew about 5 billion, this and that. It's a running joke in the MMA community when they say this stuff, right? I wish they'd just be a little bit more honest. I'm not saying you have to go and be completely honest. As John said, every promotion tells the little white lies. Dana stands up there and we all write down everything he says and we believe it. But when it comes to other promotions, we're like, oh, he's clearly lying. Yeah, but I think Dana gets a bit more of just a free pass. So yeah, it goes both ways. Anyway,
It's not that he gets a free pass. Well, he does get a free pass. The reason why he gets a free pass is because he's been doing it for so long that we're just used to it now.
that's it.
Right? It is like that, right? Remember when Dana used to have those scrums? Those were like the most viewed interviews out of Fight Week. More than the fighters, it would be Dana White fielding questions from all the media. And I wish he would continue doing that, to be honest with you. I wish he would do the scrums, but it got him in trouble a few times because he would just go off. And it was the best thing since sliced
Cyborg
bread.
Vanderlei thing.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just you know, we're used to it from him. That's what it is. And Chatri is kind of a newer figure in the sport. And one championship is a little bit, you know, it's a young organization, and that's why people focus on that, I think, a little bit more. And the people that are writing all this stuff are over there in North America, and they're throwing rocks over here in Asia. Come on, man, like chill out. You don't have to throw so many rocks at us.
Yeah, leave us alone. Anyway,
I do want to say, though, that if they were completely transparent about their numbers, especially at this point, it would probably completely destroy their business model. So
yeah,
that's probably not
want to
going to
go out there and
happen.
be like, yeah, we just lost 100 million or whatever it was.
Yeah, exactly. Then the investors would be like, "What? Hold on, we're not, we're getting out of this mess." So, yeah, don't look for that to change anytime soon, you guys. And yes, I see you, James. Add another one on there. See how many I can fit in. But that is a great question indeed. And I think, though, we kind of have the answer for that. We've talked about a lot. The pandemic hasn't helped, whether it's with Whaley or opponents. Rose, of course, initially had the issues with her being directly affected by that. So, yeah, we'll see. But thank you, sir, for the question. And I'm taking all these down.
Another thing I guess we could briefly mention in relation to One Championship is, I know you've been waiting for this, John. The Apprentice starts next week.
Oh, really?
Excitement level 1 to 10. You're an 11, aren't you?
Yeah, like 14.
14.
And what's his name? What is it? Unacceptable Chatri? Is that his name?
Yes.
And I'm waiting for him, man. Like, we should get him on the podcast to like take us through what had happened in each episode. Maybe that's a possibility for a future show. But I'm actually looking forward to watching that, to just, because I've seen like clips of the Apprentice, and I've seen like a couple episodes back in the day, right, when like it was first starting, because of course Donald Trump was like the big thing on TV. But I want to see what kind of twist that Chatri puts in there. Like, it looks like it's a lot of physical activities on top of, business adventures, and a lot of crying and probably a lot of fighting. So hopefully a lot of fighting, because fighting is always good. That's what TV is made for. Yeah, maybe we'll. What's interesting is to figure out like what's the percentage of like somebody just like getting just lambasted by Chatri, like, because he puts out that like martial arts, all that like respect and all that stuff, but
he's changed back lately. He's now embracing a bit of the trash talk.
That's
think.
good.
Dark side.
I think he knew, I cannot go on this show and just be really nice, if we want to have.
It's like, right? you bombed, and you
Dude.
bombed.
Funny.
And I was like, bombed? What is he, a stand-up comedian? Like, what's going on? Like, you bombed. Like, come on, man. Like, we're in the world of war.
He points
right
at like
now.
everybody.
Yeah, exactly. That's the promo. It's like everybody bombed, and then Chatri wins his own show.
Yeah. Oh my god.
And it's like, you are the next apprentice. And then he walks out as himself, like behind the other door.
He introduces himself. Oh, that would be amazing.
And it's a hologram of himself, but it walks out like in different clothes, like the Tupac like hologram.
Right.
And then he awards himself the apprenticeship or whatever. But yeah, I'm interested to see that. Like, where is it going to be aired though? That's the question. Like, I don't know where I can watch it. Do you know, Nick?
I still don't know. I've been trying to find out. I think it's just going to be on YouTube right now. I don't think they found they were trying to find a big buyer for it. Mm-hmm. I think that's still the hope. They want to premiere it in Asia, I think, on YouTube. So you may not even be able to watch it, Drake.
Oh man.
Get that VPN.
a VPN,
Yeah.
or we'll probably do some watch parties. I'm feeling some Apprentice watch parties could be fun.
Oh yeah.
Stream it in here. But yeah, I think they want to attract a buyer in the US by maybe blowing it up on YouTube first in Asia. We'll see. I don't know. I might be completely wrong. I'm just no one
I
seems
wish
to.
I
Go ahead.
wish that they would have just like took every contestant on The Apprentice this season and then had a fighter with them. So they're like kind of like a
I
team,
thought that's what they were gonna do.
and then like they would go through the adventures together, and then the fighter would help the other guy, right, or whoever's the candidate, win the show as a team, right? Like I wish they would have do something like that, because that brings a different twist to it. I don't know what the big twist will be with this. I know that there's gonna be like these physical obstacles and stuff like that, and like challenges, but I don't know. Yeah, like Gordon Ramsay, he's legit, man. I've actually watching one of the like seasons of Hell's Kitchen right now, which is the veterans versus the new breed. And man, this is one of the best shows you could watch. And I hate watching cooking shows, but it's not cooking. You know, they're just like Ramsay's just like
Roasted.
risotto. Like risotto is like the most said word in that whole show. Like risotto. Like, where's my shrimp risotto? Am I doing it right?
I have to say
Doing
that
it right.
terrible Gordon Ramsay impersonation.
I know.
Yeah.
I love Gordon Ramsay though. I like him. He's
Yeah, so do I. I used to watch him every morning in the UK. What was it? The one where he would just go to Kitchen Nightmares. He'd go to these terrible, awful restaurants in America, and then the owners would be just the scumbags. Here we go. What happens? Yeah, I wanted to talk about this actually. Tan says, what happens to the Rich Franklin travel show? So that was
COVID.
tied in with like one Warrior series, right? Was this going to be this kind of reinvented as this travel show reality thing? Yeah, I think that show Warrior series just got scrapped, hasn't it? At the moment, it's not. There's no plans for another season or whatever they call them at the moment. I think I might be completely wrong. From what I heard, I thought Rich was no longer actually with the company, but he did pop up the other last. He's been doing some stuff with them, I think, on the broadcast. So good to see Rich still involved. I think I saw him on one of the emails for something recently, one of the press releases. So happy he's still there. But yeah, what I wanted to ask you guys was, instead of The Apprentice, why have they not maybe reimagined Warrior series a little bit and have their own version of Tough? Like I would be way more interested in that. Would you?
Well, for the international audience or just like the general audience, Tough would not be something that's sold, I believe. I believe that something that is similar to Tough, fighters fighting each other on a TV reality show, I don't feel that would draw that much. And also there would be a massive language barrier, I believe, with a lot of the fighters. Like they're from Cambodia and Vietnam and in the Philippines. None of those countries speak the same language, right? Chinese, Japanese, and what are you gonna do? Have them all speak English? Like that doesn't make any sense, right? It would just be too hard for them to put together a TV show like that, and I don't think people would watch. We would watch it because we're interested in stuff like that, but for normal people, I don't think it would draw much. But this is just like The Apprentice. What they're doing right now is something that they could sell to a regular audience, and I feel that that's what Chacho is doing. It's actually a pretty good idea because he's selling it to a regular audience, but he's intertwining mixed martial arts and his organization into it, so where you could kind of attract new fans or a new demographic with this TV show. And he brings in GSP and Mighty Mouse and Sage and all the stars just to show you that fighters they're just regular people, right? They're they eat, sleep, and breathe and poop just like everybody else. And then you got some great representatives with like Sage and GSP and Demetrius Johnson and GSP, two of the greatest fighters of all time. And when you see them in person or just see them on TV, they look like a guy that's working at UPS, right? They just look like normal people, right? So I think it's a great way to kind of expose the regular general public into watching one championship. Probably, I don't know, but it could happen.
Yeah, Drake, do you care do you have any thoughts on what one championship should do with a reality show, or is The Apprentice the best thing they could have done?
Well, I like what John was saying about how the variety and the openness to a much bigger audience with a show like The Apprentice that attracts more than just your average fight fan. And maybe the fight fans won't even be interested in it, but there's still a bigger audience that will be captivated by that. Most likely because it's more, normal, everyday type of a thing. Um, is it the best move though? And in terms of fighting, an Ultimate Fighter type thing, yeah, that would just be very tough for them to pull off for all the reasons John mentioned. Again, I would be interested in that. I think it'd be really cool to see an international version of Ultimate Fighter like that. That would be awesome. But it's just how would you set it up? That's the question. So, I don't know. Like maybe some kind of variation of that without making them all stay in the same place. That was like a mini tournament type of format to see if you can get into one. Like, I don't know. I don't know. You'd have to really think about all these little moving parts about it. And it's funny talking about this reminded me of when, do you guys remember when Bellator did like their version of the Ultimate Fighter? What was that?
Yeah.
Fight Master or whatever?
Yeah.
Which only had like one season. I didn't catch that, but apparently it was pretty much the same thing, I think, except I don't think they stayed together. So, I don't know. I feel like just maybe that format in general has not died, but the love for it has died, and everybody really doesn't care too much about the original, the Ultimate Fighter coming back in the first place, which apparently it's going to this summer. They're still committing to doing that. Last we heard, so I don't know, it would have to be significantly different, but still have those same qualities that get us interested in the first place.
Yep. Well, that's about it, guys. We do have a bit of time. If anyone's got any questions, we've run out of topics to talk about, I think. Here's one from James Kendick. Does Angela Hill ever compete for a UFC title? I'm not sure she will, but you
Nope,
never know.
strawweight's too deep. Strawweight's too deep. I don't think she'll end up being able to make that climb, especially against some of the elite fighters who are very well rounded and just, Angela Hill's a great striker and she can be very competitive and fun with a lot of people, but that doesn't mean she'll beat them. As we've seen, especially on this current run that she's been on, she can hang, but she's not somebody who clearly beats people dominantly. She doesn't get too dominant of wins against higher level competition. And I don't know if that's ever going to change at this point, especially when the division continues to get better and better and stylistic matchups are only going to be harder and harder the higher up the ladder for her. So, I'll always tune into Angela Hill fights. She's always fun, but she's never going to be a champion, I don't think.
Especially if you look in the past with fighters that take a lot of short notice fights, they usually don't make it to title conversations. It's very rare. Everything has to line up perfectly for you to kind of make that run to the title. And Hill has had a lot of speed bumps, and it almost seems like she fights to the level of her competition. It in many ways, right? When you watch her fight, like sometimes she looks really, really crisp, and then sometimes she doesn't. And then it's almost like when she's fighting somebody that's like a prospect compared to someone that's more established, she fights up to the, like when she fought Claudia, right? Like, didn't she lose the decision to Claudia? But that fight, she was hanging with Claudia on the feet and everything, right? And I think she even knocked her down. It was a slip, but it was still a knockdown if a lot of people considered it. So yeah, that's the problem right now. And she's taking another short notice fight, I feel like next weekend or this weekend. Yeah, this weekend, right? Against Ashley Yoder.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I feel like this fight is, even though Angela Lee has fought a better level of competition, I look at Ashley Yoder as winning this fight for some reason. I don't know why. It feels like Ashley Yoder's hit some kind of like gear in her career, and she's fighting just much better. And I think Angela Lee will probably be able to won't be able to hang with that. But maybe I'm wrong.
Is she trashing the champ? Is she?
James was just being, what's the word? Trite? I can't remember. He doesn't actually believe it either.
Anyway. He's trying to troll us.
Troll us like Curtis Blades. Okay. What about this one? Lapita Light. Do you think Megan Anderson deserves to fight Amanda Nunes? That will be 259, right? One of the 3 title fights. Drake, you're going to be there. So, yeah, what do you think?
Well, yeah, very obviously, and for two reasons. Two reasons that she deserves to fight it. One, there's no who else is Amanda going to fight at featherweight? That's the easy answer. Is there's literally no other option. So yeah, Megan deserves it because there's nobody else to give it to. But at the same time, Megan Anderson is a top 5 featherweight in the world, top 6, top 5, whatever. She's one of the best featherweights in the world, and take that for what it is. You know how you feel about the division. She is one of the best of them, and she is riding a winning streak. Again, options are limited. Yes, she 100% deserves a title shot, with all things considered.
Man, this fight, yes, title shot. There's nobody else in the division. She gets the title shot. You know how you know there's no one else in the division? Because Danielle Wolf is fighting
Oh
Felicia
my
Spencer in
God.
her first fight. Danielle Wolf is a boxer
Don't get me
turned
started.
MMA fighter. She won her fight on the Contender Series, got a contract. A lot of people felt like, hey, that person shouldn't had a contract, but the UFC clearly has a path for her. And I feel like, man, if she wins this fight against Felicia Spencer, she's going to fight for the title. Dude, imagine a woman or any fighter, any athlete fighting for a UFC title at 2-0. It's even like crazier than Brock. Brock, what was he? He was like at least had like 5 or 6 fights right at that time when he fought for the title.
Might have been like 4-1, maybe.
Yeah, something like that, right? Because he lost to Mir. So
Mm-hmm.
I could see it happening. I could see if Danielle Wolf goes out there and takes out Felicia Spencer dominantly, like TKOs her, and that could be a big possibility. I could see her jumping into that title spot automatically.
Okay.
But most likely, what's going to happen in that fight is Felicia Spencer is going to take down Danielle Wolf and just maul her.
Oh yeah, I see
and
no
then,
no way Wolf wins that fight. That would
but
be a massive upset.
I'm just saying, but there's always a possibility that
Right,
Wolf
right.
could go in there and win that fight, and if she does, man, that just opens the floodgates of more criticism of that featherweight division when whoever wins this fight against Megan Anderson and Amanda Nunes fights the winner of that fight. So, anyways, going back to the Megan Anderson fight, like I was thinking about this fight a couple of days ago when they were like showing some kind of commercial for it. And I was like, man, if Megan Anderson can go in there and beat Amanda Nunes right now at this moment, I feel like it's the greatest upset in history of the UFC. I feel like this would be the greatest upset. I feel like Amanda Nunes is considered the GOAT. She's a double champ. She's beat Cyborg, knocked out Cyborg. And how many people have done that? None. Right? And if Megan Anderson goes in there and knocks out Amanda Nunes and takes that belt, that's got to be the biggest upset in my eyes. It doesn't matter about the bookies or nothing like that. I think that this is the biggest upset that we could see happening next weekend with Megan Anderson. And a lot of people are counting her out, and then we're gonna watch the broadcast, and some crazy person is gonna put like 50,000 on Megan Anderson to win by submission or something. And yeah, it would be the greatest upset
Submission?
of
Oh man.
yeah, and then like she gets a like 4th round submission, triangle choke or something like that, and then that guy wins like $50 billion, and and then the world
in
blows
one
up.
night becomes the richest man of all time.
Exactly right off that fight. So, but I'm kind of pulling for Megan Anderson. To be honest with you, I know Amanda Nunes is great. I'm a fan, right? I love to watch her fight, but I'm kind of pulling for Megan Anderson. The reason why is because I want to see something competitive. I don't want to see Amanda Nunes go out there and do what she did to Megan Anderson, like she did Holly Holm. And I feel like that's gonna probably end up being what ends up being happening, right? Is she goes out there and does what she did to Holly Holm to Megan Anderson. But I hope Megan Anderson goes out there and she has a great coach, James Krause. They must be in the lab formulating some kind of game plan to combat Amanda Nunes. So I hope when they step in, it's competitive. That's all I'm asking for. And if Megan Anderson can pull it off, man, a lot of people, especially Casey Kenny, is going to be angry.
Can't wait to see that. Yeah, what happens with Casey Kenny. Anyway, why don't we wrap it up there, boys? See, we're about to hit that 1.5 hour mark. So Yeah. Anyway, let's get some plugs in here. Drake, what you got coming up? What have you got now? What can people go check out? Where can they find you?
All right, you guys. You can find me always at DrakeRiggs _ on Twitter, Instagram, mostly active on Twitter, posting absolutely everything important that I do there. Not to say that there aren't important things, but the most of importance. Yeah, recently, let's see what I gotta remember all the things I've done. Not to brag. I spoke to the Deep founder, Shigeru Saeki, who just recently, put on the Deep 100 Impact show, the 20th anniversary show over this weekend. Great card. If you guys haven't seen, you can check it out. It's on YouTube now. Plenty of awesome finishes, some nasty stuff. There was a foot stomp knockout from Jiri Ohara. Check that one out. Just plenty of good stuff there. And of course, the chat that I had with Sayeki on MyMMAnews.com, as well as my YouTube channel, youtube.com/DrakeRiggs. Also spoke to Alexa Grasso today, so that will be coming out hopefully tomorrow. We'll see how much I can whip up here in the coming hours. And, a production for episode 7 of Broad Horizon, the first episode of 2021 underway, you guys. So feel free to send me any questions you have, and we will answer them at the end of the show. That will likely be all good to go after I get back. We'll see how quickly we can wrap things up, but it is underway, so you can look forward to the first episode of Broad Horizon of 2021 coming soon, you guys.
Let's all go in the world of Drake, huh?
Yeah.
All right. What about you, John? I know you're pumping out the interviews on the SCMP MMA channel. I've seen a few of those. We got Trevin Jones, I think, and
Yeah,
Ray
Trevin Jones is
Rodriguez.
not. It's not up yet, but Trevin Jones will be coming out. Ray Rodriguez will be coming out today. Also, Jonathan Martinez interview will most likely come out later on today. I do got the interview that I just did with a few fighters that are fighting next weekend at UFC 259. Alon Cruz, Kai Kara France, Jan Blachowicz. Interviewed
Yeah, that
him.
one's blowing up.
It's a pretty good interview right there. Who else is from 259? I don't even remember. Oh, yeah, I got an interview you guys should check out before this weekend's main event with Jairzinho Rosenstrike. The guy is always fun to chat with. And yeah, man, just pumping out content. And like I said earlier, look out for my PFL, like more work with the PFL fighters, interviewing them, and continue with the UFC. And when Bellator starts back up, I'm gonna start with some Bellator fighters too. So the year is only getting started. You know what I mean? It's not even busy yet. Wait until April. April is gonna be an insane month because the UFC is fully loaded, and then what we call it? PFL starting off, and then Bellator starting their year in April.
And
It's gonna
Angela
be
Lee's
fun.
giving birth.
Yes, and that's number one on my list.
Yeah, I just interviewed Angela earlier. Gonna have that interview up later today, I think. I got Alma Uniku set for later today. Yeah, I do occasionally do some interviews, guys. Don't just leave it to everyone else. So, in case you forgot,
Many talents of that Nick Atkin,
yeah,
everybody.
yeah, yeah, man of mystery. That's what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, thank you guys again, and thank you everyone for watching. We appreciate it every time. Hopefully, it was entertaining in these horrible times we all have to get through at the moment. And we will be back tomorrow for John's show. Who's the guest, John?
Tyson Chartier. He is the head coach of Calvin Kattar, Rob Font. Both guys top 10 fighters in the bantamweight featherweight division, and he also has his own management company, Top Game Management. He's the leader of the New England Cartel. If you've never heard of that, you should go look it up. And yeah, it's going to be fun to chat with the coach and get his thoughts on some of the stuff that's been going on in MMA and see where Calvin is. What is Calvin going to do? What is Rob going to do? Because both of those guys are in pretty decent positions in their divisions to get big fights. So we're going to find out with Tyson. And Tyson's always a guy that's an open book, so you could ask him anything. He's going to have some good answers. So I'll see you guys tomorrow and bring your questions.
Yep. And then I will be doing a One Championship Fists of Fury preview, I think straight after that or very soon after, with hopefully Chris and Jasmine. We'll see how the schedules align. I think Friday I'll try and do a UFC preview, maybe calling you in for that one, Drake. We'll see. Yeah, well, UFC Vegas
Answer the call.
20. I think we're up to. Yeah, we never stop, do we, boys? On SCMP MMA, and then we'll be here on my Sunday, Drake's Saturday, maybe if he's around for the recap after UFC. We'll also, of course, have a fight companion for One Championship on Friday night Asia time, which is Friday morning US time, I think. Yeah, so Fist of Fury, be sure to come and join us for that. It's always fun. But anyway, thank you everyone for watching.